Hey, it is Peter and I always
Sally
go the wrong one.
Ann,
I always go the
Sally
wrong
Ann.
way. And today we are going to break down the barrier. And that barrier is why women over 50 struggle to exercise and how you can change it. I'm just going to roll straight into itself. The very first thing I think is time constraints. You know, everybody says, or not everybody, but people say, I don't have time to do it. So, and look, I get that. And like as a woman in my 60s, you know, you're helping out with young people, you're helping out with older people. So you're sandwiched in between, you know, both generations, and then you're working as well, or you know, you might be retired, and you know, I think a lot of retired people end up doing a lot more than what they did when they were actually working. We hear a lot, and
Yes,
so it means that it can be hard to fit in exercise. And I think the first piece of advice that I'm going to give you is anything is better than nothing. So if you have a time constraint and you think that you have to do the recommended 30 minutes of physical activity every day, don't worry about that 30 minutes. If you can find 10 minutes, then go ahead and find that 10 minutes.
yes, because as we always say, 1 minute's better than no minutes.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Do
Yeah.
you have any words of advice around time constraints?
I think book it in, make it a priority. I
Yeah.
have very much, um, I'm very much of the mindset now that it's not, um, I don't compromise on it. There's no
Yeah.
compromise. This is the time I'm going. This is what I'm doing. There's no compromise. So
Yeah.
if my family need anything, they need to, um, they've got to work around that.
Yeah. It's
Either
like
wait
it's
till I get back or sort it out yourselves.
yeah, exactly. Oh, and they're big enough to do that, to
Oh,
sort it out
absolutely.
themselves. Yeah. And I think it's like having that non-negotiable appointment on your calendar, really, isn't it? It's like,
Doctor's appointment.
yeah, it's exactly the same. You're not going to miss that doctor's appointment, or maybe you might forget about it, but you know, generally as a rule, you won't miss it. So you make that exercise that you're going to do a non-negotiable. I think the other way that is a good way of actually including some type of movement into your day is to stack it on to something else you're doing. So that's where this habit stacking comes in. And so if you're, well, we all get up and clean our teeth, right? Well, most of us probably do. And so when you're cleaning your teeth, you might just simply do, you know, 10 squats and, you know, 10 elevated push-ups off the vanity as an example. So at least you have done something, and your teeth brushing is the trigger for you. It's like, oh, I'm brushing my teeth, so therefore I'm going to do some exercise now.
Yeah, yeah. And put a note on your mirror if you're prone to, starting out with sort of, oh, I forgot to do it today. Put a note on your mirror, you know,
Mm,
for the morning time, 10 squats, 10 elevated push-ups.
yeah,
Mm,
like that. All right.
mm.
One of the other barriers is this feeling like you have a lack of support or a lack of social support. A lot of women particularly feel that they have to have a lot of physical contact with other people. And don't get me wrong, I think the social interaction is really, really important. But when you're exercising, it is about you. But what you could do is, you know, con a friend basically and say to them, come on, let's go do an exercise program together. Or you could, you know, maybe find some support from someone outside of your family and friends. You know, there might be that person that you've been following on social media for a while, and you might reach out to them. And, you know, I know that I personally, often get emails from people saying, you know, I've been following you for a while, blah, 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 here's all my issues, you know, and it doesn't take me a lot of time to actually email you back and say, oh, okay, so here's my first piece of advice for you, or, you know, just feeling like you've got that level of support. I think it's really important.
Absolutely. And let's face it, we could look at, you know, 10 of our friends, or look at our friend group, and I can guarantee every single one of those women will want to change something about their health and fitness. Every single one of them, because we all think about it. And so you could approach any of your friends. On the flip side of that, be very wary of the naysayers.
Yeah.
Who are accepting of where they are with their health and fitness. You know, well, this is my age, this is where I am, I don't want to do anything. So yeah, when you do find that support group, you want it to be a support group. You don't want it to be friends or family or colleagues who are trying to pull you back out of it.
Yeah, I like that. I was actually just thinking, some time back, I actually did a guest speaking gig at a charity event. And, you know, after that event, I got around and I chatted with all the ladies just in general. And recently this week, I got an email from a friend of someone who attended that charity event and apparently had been following me on social media and reached out to ask if we did PT sessions. And I said, yeah, they're PT sessions with a bit of a twist. And anyway, so both her and another friend have started working out with us. Because they felt like they needed one another, but they also wanted that extra level of accountability so that they knew that there was somebody who understood it, because both of them had like lots of different aches and pains and injuries that were going on with their body. So they wanted to make sure that it was someone who was going to work with their allied health professionals that they were already working with as well.
And I think that's very important when you're looking for that support, whether it's, if you are looking for that professional support, do your research.
Yeah.
You know, every PT is amazing, but not every PT is across the board. Like, you know, I know your story is, you know, when you started out with your fitness in your 40s and your PT was, you know, in their 20s.
Yeah.
They had no idea about menopause or perimenopause or postmenopause or, you know, the aches and pains that start hitting us when we're in our 40s and 50s. So when you do look for that support, I think it's very important to do your research.
Yeah,
you know,
absolutely.
As you said, someone's been following strong, healthy women and have realised that that's the support they need.
Yeah, absolutely. I think another reason is like lack of access to resources that we can use as a reason, but I really don't think that there are a lack of resources around these days, like Google, like seriously. I think it's more about the overwhelming information that's available, and what is right and what is wrong and what's going to work for you. So I think it is looking at that and then breaking that down and, you know, maybe again getting some help in regards to working out what is going to be right for you.
Yeah. And when you are doing that research, you know, if you're doing it online through your Googles, get deep with that question, you know, because we can get on there and say PT in my area, you know, and 35 PTs or gyms pop up in your search. But, you know, if you get down and specific with, you know, PT in my area, women over 50, aches and pains, that's going to narrow your search down. And as you said, there is sometimes it can be so overwhelming with information that we tend to go, oh, this is too hard.
Yeah. And I
Yeah.
mean, and if like cost might be a barrier for you as well too, then there are a lot of free things available.
Yeah.
YouTube as an example, we have a free group, Women Over 50 Get Active and Healthy. And so, we have like something happening in that group every single day. So, there is information available, there are resources available, but it is identifying, well, is this the real obstacle for me?
Yeah.
Is it the fact that I'm overwhelmed by the information or don't have the resources, or maybe it's something different to that? Which brings me to, and I think I'm going to roll these two things in together, which are health concerns or physical hindrances. And let's face it, like most of us over the age of 50 are probably experiencing some type of physical hindrance with our body. But, and this is the lovely thing about these two ladies who came to me through the week, that they both actually said, you know what? Like, we've been working with other people over the years with all these bits and pieces, and no one has ever picked that up before. And I said, oh, yes, they call us eagle eyes. And I said, and we've even been told if we happen to turn around that we still know what's going on. I said, yeah, because we've got really big ears as well. So I think when it comes to like those physical hindrances or health concerns, don't let them be a deterrent. Go, okay, know that there is something else you can do. There is always an alternate. If you've got a broken foot, then you can still sit on a chair and exercise.
Yes. Our very own Hulk Ruth. I keep calling her the Hulk. She's had knee issues. So for the past month and a half, she's had to do her online workouts on a seat. So everything has just been upper body. And I told her the other day, that it's time to go up a weight, because those weights she was looking pretty easy doing, the exercises, and that she's turning into the Hulk. She'll be the Hulk soon. But but that just shows her mindset. Moving is more important to her than wrapping that knee in cotton wool and sitting on a couch for 6 weeks.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, Betty was the same as well too, Sal, because she's got this little fracture and she's back in a moon boot as well. And she rang me and said the same thing, I won't be able to work out for 2 weeks. And I got, oh, Betty, we've got alternates. You can come and sit. And she said, oh, would you mind doing that? And I said, no, we don't mind doing that at all. So
that's who we are. Like, there is always an alternate.
Yeah.
If you have any of those physical hindrances or ailments.
Yeah.
And I think too, when you're thinking about those sort of things, dig deep, be honest. Are my knees sore because I haven't moved for 5 years? Are my knees sore because I spend 90% of my day sitting in a chair?
Yeah. Absolutely.
So I think there's a big I like to say there's a big difference between it hurts to it's pain.
Yeah. And look, and I think when we're talking about, physical hindrances, health concerns, injuries, all those types of things, it's always important that you get a clearance from your doctor or, your allied health professional, and, that they are okay with you exercising, and they give you the recommendations about what you can and can't do, as an example. Yeah,
Absolutely.
Which leads me into the next one, which is fear of injury. So I think a lot of the times we can think that, we haven't ever exercised, or that we're coming back to exercise after a long break, and that we're scared that we're going to get injured. And I think the most important thing here is to make sure that you're working with someone. If you're scared that you're going to get injured, then you need to make sure that you're working out with someone who is aware of that being your reason, because they're going to make sure that you're doing things correctly. And one of the biggest mistakes that we see all the time is that lack of mind-body connection. So, that, maybe just, for example, doing a bicep curl and just going to town on it, but not actually squeezing through the muscle and feeling the muscle and actually connecting to it as you're doing it, and the concentric and eccentric movements, so the up and the down, are just as important as one another. So, not letting gravity do the work. And a good personal trainer or a good coach is going to make sure that you're doing it correctly, that you're in the right position, and that therefore that fear that you're going to get hurt is less.
Yeah, absolutely. Because you have that fear of, if you're not working with a personal trainer or that support group, even if it's in a small group section, and you're just going off a video on YouTube and they're saying, okay, squat, and you're squatting, you absolutely could be doing it wrong. But because you're not connecting with that mind and you don't have anybody correcting you and watching you when you're starting out, you could think you're squatting. Now, in saying that, I've been in this business for, 13, 14 years. You've been in it over 20 years.
Yeah.
As trainers, when we work out, we still correct ourselves because our minds wander. We forget what rep we're up to, all that sort of stuff. And then you're thinking, when you come back to connecting with your body, oh, okay, the weight's not in my heels for my squat, so you're correcting, you're adjusting your feet, you're adjusting your arms, you're adjusting your posture. So when you're starting out and you're watching something, a video on YouTube or whatever it might be, you can't always just assume that you're doing it correctly.
No.
So, and that's so important. I think that is so important when you have that support group, PT, small group, fitness, like our FitFlex community, because as trainers, we're always watching and we're always correcting.
Yeah, absolutely. The next reason that I had written down, Sel, was body image concerns. So, and we hear this often, oh, I need to lose a little bit of weight before I start exercising. And it's because we're self-conscious about how we feel in our body. So, and the thing is that as coaches, as trainers, we're not there, and any of the other women who particularly are in our community, they're not there like judging you and looking at your body. They're focused on themselves, and so you should be. You should be focused on yourself when you're working out, not somebody else. And so I think the most important thing, if it comes down to that, your barrier is how you look and feel in your body, I would say that it's just finding a comfortable environment. Find a place where you feel safe.
Yeah, absolutely. And thinking about our FitFlexes community, which is our online workout that we do 3 times a week, our FitFlex sessions. It's a community of women. And at the start of our session, we're all at our cameras, hello, hello, hello. At the end of our session, we're all at our cameras, hello, hello, hello.
Yeah.
But for the 38 minutes in between that, the workout and the stretching, no one is focused on their cameras. They can hear our voices, and when we ask them to look at us while we're explaining an exercise, but for those other 38 minutes, you can just see the focus is completely on them.
Yeah, absolutely. The next one I'm going to talk about is being self-conscious, having those mental barriers, and possibly even lack of motivation. And I think a lot of that comes from, what's going on in our heads. Well, I know it is. It's all about what's going on in our heads. We will tell ourselves that, we're not exercisers, or, we'll look at other people around us and go, well, look, I'm doing okay compared to everybody else around me. So therefore I don't need to exercise. But, possibly deep down inside, we go, oh, I wish I could change this. I wish I felt better. I wish I could move better. And so I really think that, getting out of our heads is one of the hardest parts to do.
Yeah. And, everything we've just discussed would have all gone through that head,
Yeah.
body image, fear, my injuries, it's too much information, continually thinking about it, instead of just letting all that go and making that decision and saying, okay, I'm not going to let my mind talk anymore. I'm going to let my body talk, and I'm doing this.
Yeah. But how do you get out of that head,
Yeah,
so,
it's
hard. It is hard. And I'm thinking about, for me, when I first started, it was just, all of those thoughts. Like, I'm not an exerciser. I've never been to a gym in my life, up until my 40s. And it was like, so I went through all of those things, am I going to get hurt? Am I going to be good enough? Will I be able to keep up? Every single thing, every doubt that is possible, went through my head. And what I did was, whilst I was thinking about it and feeling uncomfortable, and I was feeling like I, didn't have the energy to do things, it was like, I'm just going to drive there right now. And that's exactly what I did. I drove down there and I walked in the door, and, I was literally shaking, because it was that first time experience for me. And then to have a 20-year-old come up and ask me things, and I'm thinking, oh, God, you don't know anything about menopause, rah, rah, rah. But I just went, you know what? It doesn't matter what they're saying to me. It's like this blur. They're asking me questions, and it was a total blur for me. I just went, look, come on, let's just sign me up and let's get me started. Because I've taken this step. I've got out of my head. I've stopped talking to myself, and I've taken action.
Yeah. That was the same for me. Mine was more baby steps. I had Olivia, and it was, it was that day where it was like, oh, I just feel so uncomfortable. So my first baby step was my food.
Yeah.
And then we moved up north to a town called Mount Isa. People in Queen, most people know where Mount Isa is, if not. And very isolated mining town, so not much there. So I had to continue this program by myself. Then it was, okay, well, I'm going to start walking. We were in Mount Isa and we're away from Ipswich for about 2 years. And so when I came back, and I was still walking, but it was like, my body was like, you need a little bit more. Okay, I'm going to join the gym. I want to do weights, and by this stage I was probably 38, 39. I want to do weights. So I joined the local gym, and they had a women's only section.
Yes.
With all the different machines in and all that sort of thing. So I've gone up there and had no idea how to use anything, and it was like, okay, well, I'm going back down. I'm going to ask these people to come up and show me how to use these machines.
Yes.
Because that's what your job is, and that's what you're getting paid to do. So please come up and show me how to do these machines. And look, I did not know everything on that first day. So it was a matter of, day 2, going back down. Oh, I've forgotten how to use this machine. Can you show me again how to use this machine?
Yeah.
and watching other people as well use the different machines.
Mm. Mm-hmm.
So you know, that fear was there, but I think that fear was there in my mind, and my mind was loud, but my want was bigger, I think.
Yes, absolutely. There is that quote about it. I think it's a Tony Robbins quote where, that fear of change, when the fear of change is greater than, oh yeah, I can't actually remember the words to it, but it basically is that the fear of change is more is less important than the actual change itself.
Itself.
That's basically what it means.
Yeah.
Yeah. And there was something else that you said there that I really liked as well too, but it's gone from me because I was trying to think of that quote. Oh, I know what it was. It was the question self. It was like you didn't know how to do something, but you actually asked. And we see this quite often. Like I was talking about something the other afternoon in a Fit Flex session, and one of the other ladies said she added some context to it. And she's someone who is quite brilliant. And a couple of the words she used were quite interesting. And you could see everybody's. I was just waiting to see what happened, and you could see everybody's face, and there was only one person who went, "Sorry, I don't know what that means. Can you tell me what that means?"
Wow. Yep.
Yeah. So out of a whole group of women, one person. So
Yep.
who actually would ask the question. So, and I think that's another barrier as well too, having the confidence in ourselves to ask questions. Because what's the worst that can happen?
Exactly. You know, we tell our ladies all the time, no question is a stupid, like,
No.
no question is stupid. The question you don't answer, you don't ask, that's stupid.
Yeah.
But, you know, it's that head again, the fear of looking dumb.
Yeah.
But you should, you know, and this is part of our wellness talks that we do, like when we're talking about wellness, always look, you know, you should always be reading and looking for more knowledge, and, you know, and even if that comes down to your fitness, do it. Ask the questions, you know.
Like I was listening to a series of doctors talking yesterday about osteoporosis, and I mean, it was a massive, like all this research was massive eye opener in regards to some of the nonsense we get told, basically. And it was like, oh, I must share this with the ladies because it's going to be of benefit to everybody, type of thing. So, and I have that thirst for knowledge. I'm always, looking at and listening and reading different pieces of information. And I think that's part of growth as well too.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I think we might just wrap up with feeling indifferent, feeling scared or reluctant, and self-efficacy and inertia. I think they're three quite big barriers as well that we would see.
Yes.
Yeah, and I think they all come down to just starting with those small steps that we were talking
Yeah.
about. Yeah.
Yeah. Baby steps, you know, do that research, you know. You're sitting down having a cup of coffee, having a cup of tea,
Yeah.
do a bit of research.
And we didn't always know everything. We still don't
No,
know everything. If we
everything.
think
No.
about, most of us have got grandkids, or we've been around small people. They didn't know how to crawl. They didn't know how to stand. They didn't know how to walk, but we've seen them go through these stages. They just kept at it. And I think that what can happen is that as we get older, that we become more fearful of just keeping at it and trying things and doing different things. So when we were hiking the other day, I had 5 grandkids with me. And when I got back, I said, oh, we might go and do the full mountain, in a couple of days' time. We'll go all the way to the top. Who's with me? The only one who was with me was the little 5-year-old.
No fear.
No fear. No, that's right. Whereas the older ones were like, oh, my ankles are a bit sore. Oh, maybe I'll be doing this with a friend, then. And so therefore, I launched into a lecture on resilience and grit
So,
in a childlike way.
Yeah. So as the 5-year-old, all she had was no fear and saw an adventure with you.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah, that's right. And it was like when we got to the top of this one point at the rocky knoll, they've come around this side of me, and I've got, oh, hang on, mate, don't go around there. And he goes, why? And I go, look down there. I said, if you lose your footing off that rock, well, there's no finding you. You're just gone. And he's looking over, and I'm thinking, oh goodness, so I can't lose.
No fear.
No fear. No
fear.
None whatsoever. But
Yeah.
I love looking at things through the eyes of children and remembering what I was like as a child as well too, so that I can tap into that part of me. And I think that's one lesson that we can use a little bit more often, is to tap into our inner child and those experiences that we had. So because it does make us less fearful of doing something.
Yeah. And I've talked about it before, last year, I think it was, that fear that just suddenly came over me walking up and down my stairs in my house. Like, why? I've never had a fall, it just suddenly entered my mind. What if I fell down the stairs? And it was just a stupid thought. So I'm very, very conscious now. Like, don't be afraid. I've never fallen down my stairs. I've never fallen up my stairs. But it just creeped in. And I think it was it was coming with age, and it was like, why?
Yeah. Do you know, Sal, I was up at the Limestone Park. Oh, this is a few months ago now. And you know how they've got the ropes that you can climb up through and over the top and whatnot. So it's like an obstacle course thing. And I happened to be on that. And I got to the top, and I went to swing my leg over, and I went, oh, what if I fall? There's no one here. Oh. And I went, oh, come on, suck it up. You can do this. But, I'll just go back to my grandkids, because one of the things that I finished up with, I said, okay, out of all the grandparents you have a lot of grandparents. Out of all the grandparents, who's the one who climbs the trees? Who's the one who plays tiggy? Who's the one who takes you hiking? Who's the one who plays soccer? Who is the person who is active with you? And they said, you are. And I said, right. And why is that? That is because I care about myself, and I go and do these types of things. I'm exercising because I want to be able to do these things with you. And I know at some point you're probably not going to want to do it with me, that you'll be too old and too cool to do that. But, hopefully then you'll have more kids and I can still do it with them. I left it on that note. But I think, Sal, just in wrapping up today, I really believe that as we get older, we are more aware of the fact that exercise is good for us and that we want to do it. We know it.
Research tells us.
Yeah, absolutely. And all of these reasons that we've gone through today are all based on research. So, we know that you want to do it, but we also know these reasons are barriers. So I think if you can, tap into which is the biggest one for you, and then maybe take some of those tips today and just take those first steps. And as I said, it doesn't have to be big, just small. Then you can gain a little bit of momentum, and you feel good about yourself when you start taking those steps.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah, for sure. And if you have enjoyed it today, Sal and I have our amazing Finding Fitness After 50 masterclass coming up. So we're going to be digging deeper into some of these reasons. We're also going to be talking about, you know, the 3 biggest barriers or 3 biggest obstacles that we've encountered over the past 20 years of why women don't exercise and what they need to do. So if you'd like to come and join us, we'll post a link up as well too. It is on Saturday, the 6th of May at 9 a.m. our time, Australian Eastern Standard Time, and we'd love to see you there.
Can I just add in, this is your sign. This is your first baby step to finding your fitness.
Yes, I love it. I love it.
So sign up, ladies.
Thanks for joining me, Sal. Thanks for joining us,
Thank you for having me.
We'll see you all soon. Bye for now.
Bye, guys. Bye.